Here is the complete text in English, ready to paste into Clipchamp. Backhand index pointing down. There is a silent way of living faith. So common that almost no one notices. It's not rejecting God. It's not walking away. It's something far more subtle and far more dangerous. It's believing, and yet living as if He weren't there. Think about an ordinary day. Nothing went wrong. Nothing extraordinary happened. You woke up, did your things, made decisions, talked to people, and at no point was God a conscious presence in your day. Not out of rebellion, not out of lack of faith, but simply because He never entered. And the most dangerous part isn't that this happens. It's that it feels completely normal. The Bible already revealed exactly this spiritual state. This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Isaiah 29 verse 13. Jesus didn't say this about unbelievers. He said it about religious people. People who said the right things, but lived disconnected. This is the first level. God is real to you, but He is not present in your daily life. True faith begins with confession. If you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart, you will be saved. Romans 10 verse 9. But that was never the final destination. It was only the door of entry. Because on the other side of that door, there is movement. We were created in Christ Jesus for good works. Ephesians 2 verse 10. Faith was not made to stay still. It was made to walk. But millions of people stopped right at the beginning. Not out of rebellion. Because no one explained that there is more. Level 2. When you start talking to God, at some point, something changes. You start to pray. You start to seek. You start to draw near. And that is real. But there is a detail, almost invisible here. Most prayers revolve around needs, requests, problems, situations that need to be solved. And without realizing it, God begins to occupy a specific role. The role of problem solver. You ask and do not receive, because you ask wrongly. James 4 verse 3. It's not about asking in the wrong way. It's about the motive. The center is still you. When God answers, you feel Him close. When He doesn't answer, He seems distant. The relationship becomes dependent on circumstances. But God never wanted to be just an answer. He wants to be a presence. Present your requests, and the peace of God will guard your hearts. Philippians 4 verse 6. The promise isn't just an answer. It's peace. And peace doesn't come from the solution. It comes from the encounter. Draw near to God. James 4 verse 8. Don't just bring your requests. Draw near to the person. Level 3. Discipline without presence. Now you are steady. You read the Bible. You pray every day. You go to church. You serve. Everything seems right. But something can happen, slowly. The routine replaces the relationship. You keep doing everything, but you stopped encountering someone. Martha, Martha. You are worried about many things, but only one thing is necessary. Luke 10 verse 41. Mary chose to stop. She chose to be with Him. without producing, without proving anything. Just present. And Jesus said, this is what matters. Because discipline without presence is not intimacy. It is religion. I have this against you, that you have abandoned your first love. Revelation 2 verse 4. They were doing everything right, but they lost the reason. Level 4. Trusting when it costs. There is a moment in faith when God asks something of you, and you understand clearly, but it costs. It's not comfortable. There's no guarantee of outcome, and everything inside you says, wait a little longer. But you already know what you need to do. This is the point where faith stops being theory and becomes real trust. Abraham lived exactly this. We will return. Genesis 22 verse 5. Even without knowing how, Abraham considered that God was able to raise him up. Hebrews 11 verse 19. He had no explanation. He had a relationship. And that changes everything. I will reveal myself to him. John 14 verse 21. There is a level of God that only appears after obedience. Level 5. When you stop hiding who you really are. There is a barrier that many never cross. Not because they don't love God, but because they were never taught to be real before Him. Most people learn to pray, but never learn to open up. They learn to speak beautifully, to give thanks, to ask, but never brought what is messy on the inside. The unresolved doubt, the hidden disappointment, the silence that hurt. My God, why have you forsaken me? Psalm 22 verse 1. This is not lack of faith. This is closeness. Because only someone who trusts speaks to God this way. Pour out your heart before Him. Psalm 62 verse 8. Pouring out is not organizing. It's not explaining. It's letting it out as it is. Messy, confused, real. Level 5 begins when you stop hiding and start being true. Level 6. When God stops being a moment and becomes your reality. Silently, God begins to be part of everything. Not just of prayer, but of the entire day. You no longer need to enter His presence, because you realize you never left. Pray without ceasing. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 17. This is not an impossible command. It is a description of a relationship. Whatever you do, do it in the name of the Lord. Colossians 3 verse 17. Everything. Not just what seems sacred. God is not someone you visit. He is someone you live with. He is there, even when you don't speak. Level 7. When you stop trying and begin to live in Him. This level doesn't look spiritual. It doesn't look like effort. It doesn't have intensity. On the contrary, it looks like rest. The person is not trying to prove anything, not trying to reach something. They simply live because they stopped being the center of their own journey. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. Galatians 2 verse 20. Notice this carefully. It doesn't say, I improved. It doesn't say, I grew. It says, I am no longer the center. Remain in me, because apart from me you can do nothing. John 15 verse 4. The fruit doesn't come from effort. It comes from remaining. You were never trying to reach God. You were learning to stop resisting Him. Come to me, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11 verse 28. No more effort. Rest. Now stop and think. Not about theory. About you. Is God present in your day? Or only in your mind? Is your prayer a relationship? Or a list? Is your faith a routine? Or an encounter? Is there something God has already asked of you that you keep putting off? Is there something inside you that you have never brought to Him? Do you live with God? Or do you only visit Him? Are you still trying to reach Him? Or have you already realized that He was never far away? Because the deepest level is not when you do more. It is when you finally rest in who He already is. If this message spoke to you, don't ignore it. Because this is not just a video. It is a calling. A calling to leave the surface and live something real with God. Here at Prophecy Faithful, we are not here to entertain you. We are here to awaken you. So do something simple, but powerful. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell. And write in the comments, I choose to go deeper. Because when you declare it, you take a position. And that changes everything. God is not finished with you.